Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, wherever it may be for you. Welcome, everybody. Today, I'm going to take you through a nice, gentle, slow morning flow. So you may want to grab a bolster or something to sit on, pillow, cushion, anything that makes it a little more comfortable, just bringing the hips up a little bit. Just kind of get comfortable in a seated position. You may want to move the flesh out from each side, kind of getting a little more grounded on your sit bones. I want to take a moment to thank VegFest, Global Breath, and Wild Earth, the sponsors for Wake Up and Yoga. If you joined in the past 2 months, you got to experience some different sequences with some of my peers, Allie and Evie. And the cool thing is we've had similar experiences going through our training together. However, we all have a different style. So feel free to drop anything in the chat and I'll answer questions or any comments after. And just start to find some comfort and some ease. Taking a breath in and a breath out. Today we're going to be focusing on the breath and the body. Feeling the in-breath and the out-breath. And truly listening to your body. If there's any position or posture that doesn't feel good to you, everything I am guiding is just a suggestion. You find something that feels good to you. Everything I'm passing on to you comes from my teachers and their teachers. On your next exhale, taking the right ear to the right shoulder. Inhaling back to center, and then left ear, left shoulder. Working with the breath, doing this a couple times on each side. Maybe one side feels a little tighter than the other. Perhaps you give that side just a little bit more love today. And one more time on each side. And then allowing the chin to drop down to the chest a little bit and just making some small circles, half circles with the neck. Back and forth. One side might feel a little bit different than the other. And that's perfectly fine. And when you feel even and balanced on both sides, returning the head to a neutral position. And on the next in-breath, taking the arms out wide, and then exhaling and giving yourself a nice big hug. Take a breath here, and on the exhale, twisting to the right. In-breath comes back center, and exhaling the other side. One more time on each side. In-breath, hands above the head. Exhaling, hands come down to the knees. Inhale, bring the arms out. We're going to do this on the other side. So exhale, cross over the opposite way. And then again, moving with the breath, exhaling to each side. Just seeing how that feels for you. And then next inhale, arms raised above the head. Exhale, bringing them back down to the knees. Taking the hands behind the back and interlacing the fingers, allowing the chest to open up. Gaze can go up if that's comfortable to you. And then from here, allowing yourself to hinge forward slightly, bringing the arms above the head to any extent that feels comfortable. Remembering to breathe, just feeling that stretch. And then releasing that back. And then just taking a couple breaths here to find some grounding. Continuing to witness the breath and noticing the body. I'm going to transition into our child's pose at the back of the mat. Toes come together, knees are spread wide, sitting back on the feet and extending the hands in front of you. Forehead can come to the ground, or if it's more comfortable for you, you can cross your arms or stack your fists and take your forehead to your fists. So we're going to be here for several breaths. If it feels good to you, you can set an intention for your practice. Perhaps you're just happy that you showed up on your mat today. Continuing to witness the breath. And taking the forehead side to side for a little massage. On the next in-breath, we're going to slither forward like a snake into a cobra. You can keep it low for right now. And then press up through hands and knees, dropping back down into your child's pose. We're going to do this a couple times at your own pace, working with your breath. Just having fun with it. Maybe pushing up slightly further each time you move into your cobra. Back down into your child's pose. And then slithering forward into your cobra. Pressing up. Then sitting back into your child's pose. Maybe you take a moment to stop right here, or maybe you want to add a little more movement. We'll go through our cobra one more time. And then meeting back in our child's pose. On the next in-breath, Making your way into a tabletop on all fours. Shoulders are above the wrist, hips are over the knees. And here, we're going to, on the in-breath, gaze goes up, belly drops, tailbone raises. And on the exhale, rounding the tailbone, gaze goes towards the navel. Moving into our cat-cow. Working with your own breath here. You can find a pace that feels good to you. And maybe you want to take some other movements as well. So maybe swaying the hips side to side. Or even kind of making circles with the body. Just remembering to listen to what your body is telling you. Making your way up onto your knees. We're going to have the right hand touching back towards the right foot, wherever it feels comfortable to you. And on the in-breath, bringing the left hand above into a half camel. And on the exhale, we'll bring the left hand down and switch. Inhale, right arm goes up. Feeling that deep stretch on each side of the body. Maybe going slightly deeper into it on each side. We're going to do one more time on each side. And then allowing yourself to just rest in child's pose for a couple breaths. On the next in-breath, returning back to a tabletop. Rooting the left hand into the ground, taking the right arm up with an in-breath, and exhaling, slightly letting it go through. In-breath, raising the arm, and then exhaling it through. Maybe you get a little deeper each time you come around. And then on the next exhale, we're going to thread our arm all the way through, bringing the right shoulder to the ground. Right cheek can come to the ground as well. And we'll just hold this here for a few moments. Continuing to breathe. And on the next in-breath, bringing the arm above the head, exhaling and planting the right hand into the ground. On the next in-breath, left hand goes up in the air. And then slightly allowing it to go through as you inhaling up, exhaling down. Taking it a little bit deeper each time. And then on this next time, we're going to bring the left shoulder down to the ground, left cheek can come on the ground, and just see how that feels. Inhale, arm goes all the way up in the air. Exhale, planting it on the ground. Here we're going to tuck the toes under and just slightly lift the knees off the ground and then release. Again, lifting the knees off the ground and release. Just building a little bit of heat. One more time, knees off the ground, releasing. And on this next time, we're going to spread our fingers wide, plant our hands, and take our hips up and back into our downward facing dog. Now, your knees can be bent as much as they need to be, or you can pedal out the legs, whichever feels good to you. We're going to work with the breath here. And on the in-breath, we're going to move into our plank and hold our plank for a moment. And then on the out-breath, taking it back into your downward facing dog. You may have to readjust your hands and feet to make this work. But go ahead and move with your own breath into plank and then back into your downward facing dog. A couple more times. And then the next time you find yourself in plank, we're just going to take 5 breaths here. And then dropping the knees down to the mat, moving into a few rounds of your cat-cow. I'm definitely feeling a little bit more heat. How about you? And from here, we're just going to move our feet so we can come to a seated position, extending our legs in front of us. And here we're just going to go into a boat pose. So trying to find balance on the tailbone, raising the toes off the ground. You can keep your hands planted behind you, or if you'd like, you can bring them in front of you, palms facing up. Checking in on those shoulders, making sure they're relaxed. And then just noticing your breath here. If you need to take your toes down to the ground, you can do that. We're going to breathe for 5 more here. And release. Moving into a position down on the ground. Continue to have the knees bent. And here, we're going to walk the feet closer to the sit bones. We're going to press up through the hips into our bridge. A couple options here. You can interlace the fingers and hold this. Or if you want to add some movement with the breath, you can take the hips back down, and then on the next in-breath, raise the hips and bring the arms above the head. And then releasing. In-breath, bringing them above the head. Out breath, releasing. You get to choose which feels best to you. One more time here. Allowing the knees to drop open to each side and bringing the feet together, allowing yourself to come into the butterfly position, although you're laying on the ground. Just seeing how this feels. Maybe you bring the feet closer into you, or maybe the feet are out. Depending on where you place the feet, you'll find a little bit different stretch. And then just noticing the head and the shoulders and the back, feet all touching the ground. And just allowing the earth to hold you in this position. Maybe returning to your intention that you set at the beginning of the practice today. And on the next in-breath, drawing the knees up and into the chest and rocking around either side to side or back and forth. Maybe taking the knees in a circular motion. Perhaps here you want to grab the big toes and go into a happy baby. Extending the legs in any way that feels good. Allowing the feet to come back to the mat. From here, taking the arms out to a T. Slightly moving the hips over to the right side. Allowing the knees to drop over to the left. Gaze goes over the right into your supine twist. On the in-breath, lengthening the spine. And on the out-breath, allowing the twist to go a little bit deeper. Just wringing out your insides. Seeing how that feels to you. On the next in-breath, bringing the knees up to center, repositioning yourself. And then taking hips over to the left a little bit. Allowing the knees to drop over to the right. Gaze goes over the left shoulder. Again, this side might feel a little bit different than the other side. Just notice. Continuing to breathe and lengthen the spine. On the next in-breath, drawing the knees up to the center. And here, taking any other movement that you might want before going into our final resting position. Here you can keep the knees bent and stay on your back, or you can extend the legs long, toes going out. Hands can be to the side or on the belly or over the heart, whatever feels best to you. If this is a little uncomfortable, you can also move to your side or your belly. Just notice the body. Noticing the points of contact on the earth and the breath as you breathe in and out. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Breathing in, I notice the breath, long or short. Breathing out, I notice the breath, long or short. Breathing in, I notice my whole body. Breathing out, I notice my whole body. Breathing in, I calm my whole body. Breathing out, I calm my whole body. Starting to bring awareness back to the breath, wiggling the fingers and the toes. On the next in-breath, bringing the arms above the head. And on the next out-breath, hugging the knees into the chest. And a little ball coming over onto your side. And then using your hand to press yourself back into a seated position. Allowing the head to come last. And then just take a moment here in this easy seated position. Taking a breath in and a breath out. I'm going to close the class with the universal sound of Om. You can join me if you feel comfortable. Exhaling completely. Inhaling fully. All is within. Be receptive. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I also want to say thank you to Wild Earth and Global Breath and VegFest for making this possible for us. And I'm going to go check the chat and see if anyone had any questions. Remember, we will be here same time next Monday. And I look forward to seeing you.